roll through it. So my name is Emily Kitterman. I am let's see if my presentation is going to advance here. There we go. My name is Emily Kitterman. I'm the Senior Manager of Careers in Tech for an organization called TechPoint. So this presentation is going to be a little bit different in that TechPoint is, we are not a tech company. We're a nonprofit organization that is supporting tech companies and the entire tech ecosystem for the state of Indiana. So I sit on what is our talent team. So really focusing on providing both access and opportunities to these pathways into your careers in tech that ultimately will uplift our state of Indiana and support those companies, both large and small startups in this space. And so what I'm going to really sort of anchor this presentation on is providing you with actionable information that you can kind of take it in, some broad-based generalizations about where we see the market going, and then get you immediately connected to resources so that you can be agents in activating on this in a way that fits your current situation. Because we know any career path, honestly, any professional is going to tell you that most of their paths have not been linear. That they've kind of jumped around in some different things. Expectations maybe didn't hit where they thought they were going to be. I myself, from a professional standpoint, I've spent my entire career now about 10 years in the nonprofit sector, but my undergraduate degree is actually in biology. I thought I was going to go to medical school, and the opportunities that came to me and where my passions most directly aligned were in that service side of it. So that's really what pulled me into nonprofit. So best advice I can give you is to try to know as much as yourself and the things you actually enjoy doing that will spark that curiosity and that kind of continuous learner aptitude, because coming into any professional field, you will always need to be learning. And so you might as well find something that you actually enjoy learning about versus trying to force it in. So as I mentioned, TechPoint, we are the industry-led growth initiative that is working to inclusively grow Indiana's digital innovation economy and overall tech ecosystem. And we are very intentional in using that digital innovation economy language. What that refers to is not just the tech sector. So I imagine some of those big companies come to mind as far as like here in Indiana, we know Salesforce from a tech company standpoint, but then you've got your Google, Meta, Amazon. But what we mean when we say digital innovation economy, it is both that tech sector side of it, as well as tech enabled. And so recognizing that really since kind of the internet came into the market, that the workforce has continuously transformed, and industry specifically has had to adopt to new technologies that have come into the space and have embedded them into how they operate their businesses. So we're getting to a point now as far as a saturation in the overall economy where really every industry is a tech company, in that they cannot operate their core function without technology and tech competencies throughout their entire workforce. A great example is we know that Eli Lilly is a pharmaceutical company and one of the largest employers for the state of Indiana. They are also one of the key largest employers for IT professionals, really showcasing how those tech competencies are bleeding through all those different industries. So it's showing that there's a high value in these skill sets. TechPoint is nested under a larger entity called the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership. And the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, also a nonprofit entity. Think of it like a chamber of commerce, but specific to these different industry breakouts. So we encompass that tech and tech-enabled side of it, really working to bring together disparate entities to help solve problems for the state of Indiana. So we sort of serve as this catalytic convener for employers, the education sector, so that's both K-12 partners as well as higher education entities, so that's your colleges and universities, community partners, as well as government entities, so we can really ensure that the state is activating on these solutions so that things can move forward and we can more easily provide those opportunities. And anytime I say opportunities, I'm referring to those jobs, being able to break into what the data tells us are high wage roles. And so for us, our kind of number one job really is growing Indiana's workforce. This is something back in late 2021, we really put our stake in the sand, actually, no, 2022, excuse me, with our Mission 41K initiative. So backed by data and the information that we gathered from employers, that in order for Indiana to remain competitive and be able to grow our tech ecosystem to be competitive on a national scale, we have to have that workforce available. And in order to remain in that space, we have to nearly double the national tech growth workforce for the state of Indiana, which is about 41,000 workers by the year 2030. And so in order to do that, we are really taking a broad-based approach and working through our employer relationships to really try to change that conversation on how they identify their talent. Tech has particularly been a sector where companies have essentially kind of just followed the same playbook. They go after recent college and university grads or even higher degreed individuals, so looking at those master's degree folks. And we're recognizing that because tech has started to bleed through all of those industries, that's just not necessary, that they can essentially achieve that there are a number of roles that have really popped up just even within the last 10 years. And we anticipate that more roles are going to be added into the workforce with the addition of generative AI tools coming into the marketplace. And only focusing on those college and university graduates won't move the needle towards that 41,000. That only gets us about halfway there if we look at that. And so we are working to really leverage the relationships we have with employers to identify the training opportunities by offering dual enrollment pathways for high school students so they can earn that associate's degree or even a short-term credential while in high school so that they can more easily filter into a job, increasing those work-based learning opportunities and student internships, and additionally recognizing that because of this rapid digital innovation that has happened in the workforce, is that we have a number of current adults in this space who are going to need to upskill or reskill for these new technologies. And so providing that pathway through an adult apprenticeship program. So that's where it's like you're getting specific training. This is something that we have seen be very effective in more labor intensive industries. Think your plumbers, electricians, they use an apprentice model, and it's been tried and true for a number of years where they bring in the talent and they train them how to do a specific job. And then once they hit those different certification milestones for their learning, they're able to go off on their own, and then they can train another apprentice. So this has been a slow adoption for employers because in this space, you've got very high skilled competencies. So just being able to work out that balance of what they're able to do from a work standpoint while they're also learning. So that's why that number is skewed a little lower, and it's more so that we can get that continued adoption for it. And so before we kind of dig into tools and resources and then being able to answer some of your questions, I want to give you a quick snapshot of the state of hiring. So this is this entity or a place where TechPoint really serves as sharing information. How I mentioned we are that catalytic convener. So oftentimes we're coming into a space where it's just what employers are talking about and what their needs are doesn't get effectively communicated out to those that are looking for jobs. And so we kind of then serve as a bit of a translator in this space, and we put out reports on a regular basis about what's happening specific to Indiana's current economy. And so every year we put out a State of Indiana's Tech Workforce report. So this is results that we had from last year, reporting on numbers from 2022 into mid-2023. And we will repeat this report with updated statistics later this year, look around like summer into semester time. What we have seen, though, from a trends aspect is really since the pandemic years is we've doubled our net job, our tech job growth rate year over year. So that means every year we've doubled the amount of jobs that are available and kind of coming into the market. At this point, when this report was published, we were at about 118,000 jobs that were available that were really focusing in on those tech competencies. So there's a lot of growth and a heavy demand from employers for these roles. Specifically, some of the top three that really come to mind are software development, cybersecurity specialists, and then what we refer to as kind of emerging tech. So those are cloud technologies and AI. Increasingly, we know that last year that made quite the splash. As far as how that is responding from a market standpoint, it is a little slower. But what we are seeing and kind of anticipating with these generative AI tools is that there will be some short-term automation of some jobs. So we will lose some roles, think more admin heavy or task generated roles. But above and beyond, we are going to add pretty much a 3-to-1. So 3 jobs for every 1 that is automated by AI. 3 jobs will be added in for those that have the competencies that can work alongside these tools, can monitor these systems, can help train these AI tools to be more effective and more efficient to increase those productivities. So this is really where Indiana's challenge has been, is that we're seeing this rapid growth, but that there's still even more that could be happening if we prepare that talent pipeline to be able to filter into these roles. And so that's why we are really working hard to get the word out there to more candidates about what does this actually look like. And a lot of this includes, when we talk about inclusively growing this workforce, it's recognizing that we have to kind of do away with just focusing on those credentials. So influencing our employer partners not to just look at, do they have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, and focus on what are the gross skills that individuals have. And there is research that backs this up. Firms essentially have 5 to increase their hiring and are more predictive based on skills based versus just those credential or just hiring for an education based. They increase the number of responses that they get for the jobs that they put out there. And we know that it increases the equity. And so as far as including a more diverse pipeline of applicants for the roles that they place, recognizing that what research tells us is that women and those of underrepresented identities tend to apply to jobs where they meet every single requirement, whereas those in the dominant identity will tend to apply to those roles where they meet 60% of those requirements. So when you focus on those skills in general and being able to be very clear of what is it that you need individuals to do on day 1 for that job. So essentially kind of your non-negotiables. And then what are the things that you're willing to train for or they will learn while they're on the job, makes it a lot clearer, and so that they are able to make more effective hiring decisions. So we talked about this a little bit already, those in-demand jobs for Indiana. So this is based on the data we get from employers. Software developers continue to be number 1. So that's anybody that's feeling really drawn into those CS education pathways. That's going to be a big opportunity for you. Cybersecurity analysts, cloud specialists, generative AI specialists, IT support specialists and IT support technicians still continue to be a highly sought after career path. I will just caveat that that is one that does tend to fall more into a target area that will be automated. So having a data science background will help to be able to work alongside those generative AI tools, and then different systems analysts. And then so when we talk about how can you prepare yourself for what is coming with these generative AI tools coming into the marketplace. And a lot of it is just getting familiar with working alongside them and actually having it do for you what you want it to achieve. Recognizing that currently these generative AI tools, they are predictive engines. So they've been trained on a massive amount of data. And then based on the input that you give it, it's going to give you a predictive output that hopefully is what you were looking for. But that's not always the case. That's what we've heard about. When these tools initially came onto the market, they talked about those hallucinations. And that's just because more often than not, it wasn't prompted correctly, or there was corruption in its data source. So being able to effectively work alongside these tools, kind of lockstep in anything that you're doing, and having strong analytical judgment, flexibility, that emotional intelligence piece of it, recognizing that a machine is only going to be as good as those that have created it, and having really that human-centered focus with it is never going to go away. Intellectual curiosity, so that aptitude to kind of continue to learn alongside these tools, that bias detection and handling. Again, they've been trained on a fixed amount of data. And so being able to see where are those areas that maybe it's not showing up exactly, or it does have some of that bias based on how it was trained. And then AI delegation. So that's your prompt piece of it, being able to actually give it the right instructions to give you the output that you are looking for. There are already a number of even free trainings that are available in the prompt engineering space so that you can start practicing with this a little bit more, as we know that this technology is going to continue to evolve and these tools are going to become more and more integrated in our daily lives. And then our foundational skills. So you probably, this has maybe come up in other points. This is kind of one of those areas that the naming convention for it constantly changes. Sometimes they're referred to as soft skills or social emotional skills. We are really sticking to calling them foundational skills. And this is predominantly due to the conversations we've had with employers. And when employers come to us and tell us that talent acquisition and talent sourcing is one of their major pain points, the immediate next question that we ask them is like, okay, so is it the quality of that talent? Are they not able to perform the given tasks for that specific role? So are we not training them effectively? And far and away, what these employers come back with is that it's less deficiency in those technical skills and more so in these foundational skills, these interpersonal skills that are a little harder to train for and teach, because these are the skills that you've been cultivating your entire life, pretty much since you were out on the playground in elementary school into everything that you are doing now, is where these sort of foundational skills are being developed. And they are increasingly some of the most common skills that employers are evaluating you on when you apply for a job. And more so when you interview, they're really sussing out essentially, how do you work through a problem? What are your critical thinking skills? Are you a creative individual? And when you come to that problem solving, are you pulling in your past experience to be able to give them a different perspective on something? How do you work well in teams, or how do you collaborate? And what does that style look like? As well as your communication. So do you show up professionally? Can you switch your communication styles if you're working within an internal team versus working with those external stakeholders or potentially a customer? And then your ethical reasoning. So how do your personal morals and integrity show up in a workplace setting? And then how are you able to use that to then reason through those problems? And so I would highly, highly encourage you. There are a number of free resources as well as some gated resources out there around skills assessment and being able to sort of start building this out for yourselves and gaining some understanding about what are your sort of innate skill sets already. Where do your interests and say your hobbies and different activities already align? And some of those different things. And I would encourage you to always separate these out as your hard technical skills. So that's your ability to complete something specific versus those soft skills, foundational skills, which are those more interpersonal interactions, and essentially the skills that you develop through relationships with others. And start to build this out into a skills journal or some sort of tracking document that's separate from your resume template. And I have essentially been kind of coaching folks into doing it this way because it helps you. If you break it out in this clear, succinct way, it's going to make it easier for you to identify those jobs based on a job description that fits your actual experience. So the easiest way to do this, honestly, an Excel document is a great tool to be able to build this out. And you follow the same formula for every single skill. You name what that skill is. In this example, we have managed budgets. You define that. So you have your simple definition of what that is. That you can Google, you can search for that, whatever that may be. And then you apply, what is your real life example? So what is it that you've done, whether that's through your education, your life experience, your work-based experience, an internship, a volunteer opportunity. Let it run the full gamut of your experience that showcases that you have that competency. And so over time, as you build out this template, what you'll find is that you'll have multiple examples for a single skill, and you'll end up with this library of a massive amount of both your hard and soft skills that's going to make it a lot easier to pull out when you're looking through those different jobs and you see the skills language show up in a job description, and then you can pull from your skills journal into your resume to increase that likelihood that you get through that first screening pathway to hopefully increase that ability to get that interview. So we've touched on this a little bit with really every company becoming a tech company. And so just to kind of give you some understanding about what some of these different areas are of what makes up the tech industry. And you've got closer to the center is that infrastructure. So our ability to access the digital world, that's your companies like AT&T and Comcast, the ones that are laying those fiber lines and that access to internet and different broadband capacities. Your products, those are companies that are using physical, tangible materials to create the items that then are going to access that tech. So think about your smartphone, those that is created by those physical materials that then is going to be a vehicle that connects us to the digital world. Your services, so that's anything that falls into being able to fulfill customers' needs and wants. So even right now, we are meeting over a virtual platform. That would be a service to provide and kind of solve a problem. So it's that's where you'll see a lot of software companies or different email marketing companies, things of that nature. And then that larger outside circle is that tech-enabled piece of it. So these are all of those other companies. You see Lilly as a pharmaceutical company on there, Cummins, which is a manufacturing company, Zoetek is a healthcare company, Delta, a faucet company, kind of speaks for itself. Similarly, Republic Airways, all of these companies that could not operate their business functions without technology tools and then essentially a tech-enabled and tech-trained workforce. In Indiana, across the Indiana workforce, what we see is that more than 90% of Indiana's tech talent is in those tech-enabled companies. Also, more than 90% of Indiana's tech talent are in small and mid-sized companies. A lot of that has to do with Indiana has continuously ranked #1 as one of the best places in the country to start a business. So we have a very robust startup and small business community that's constantly kind of engaging and obviously being able to find that talent. They are looking for high-skilled individuals that are ready to hit the ground running for those roles. Some of the biggest roles that we see in this space for Indiana specifically are business operations. That's where you'll also see a lot. We're seeing a major uptick in the data science field for business analysts. So that's individuals that have at least a base level knowledge and experience in data science to be able to pull big swaths of data and make sense of it and be able to then share that externally or internally. And then we have customer relationship management individuals. So that's your customer service. Customer success is often in this space what those customer service roles are referred to as. So those are individuals that work with your sales team in order to ensure that customers are happy and that those companies are responsive to their needs. And then project managers tend to be another area where we see a significant uptick of Indiana's talent. And so now we're going to dig into, and feel free to follow along here since you're all on your devices. We're going to go through some of the tools that TechPoint has available, and kind of your first stop is our Careers in Tech platform. So this is a web-based resource you can access. If you type into your search bar right now, it's careersintech.info. We'll take you to that web-based site, and this is kind of meant as the doorway. So a lot of the information that I just shared with you as far as some of those insights into Indiana's tech economy is embedded in this site. So we'll have those sort of continuous updates. We also have some video testimonials in there so you can hear from current tech and tech-enabled talent and learn from what it is that they do, how they broke into that particular career in the company that they work for, and any advice that they have to job seekers. And we'll continue to kind of build that out to show a variety of different roles. We have some embedded free learning pathways in here, so you can start to build out your knowledge, as well as some virtual work-based learning opportunities, and some different aptitude assessments, so you can start to assign some of this career language and skills-based language into where you're at right now. So that's kind of our first one here that I want to highlight are these quizzes. So they have a pretty extensive library. These were some of the ones that for this audience I felt were most appropriate. So what tech job might be right for me? And you go through their quick questionnaire, similarly a career quiz for teenagers. And then what's my passion? How can you align the things that really excite you and motivate you, and how does that then translate into a possible career path, as well as a number of different other ones there. So you can access that through the Careers in Tech site, or you can scan that QR code right now if you want to go through that really quick. Additionally, we have built a Careers in Tech online classroom. So to access this, all you have to do is just create your own username. It is a completely free platform, and it's through a website called Forage. And so what Forage does is they have partnered with a number of different more global corporate entities. And those companies have created these work-based virtual simulations. So think of it like a micro internship. And the really strong value for these opportunities lies in the fact that it is tied to these corporate names. The one that I have on the slide here is showcasing, it's a simulation, a technology simulation out of the company Deloitte, which is a global technology consulting firm. And so being able to tie that, these make these opportunities then become resume stacking credentials so that you can go through them. The classroom that we've built are more approachable simulations. So anywhere from 1 to 3 hours total time. You're not locked into anything. So you get to take them at your own pace. And it'll showcase for you and really spell out what are the skills that you are going to utilize in going through those simulations. So it's going to make it really easy to translate that into your skills journal. It's going to make it really easy to submit those into your resume as you are building this and going through your different education paths. And it's a great opportunity to try on some of these different roles because these are based on what their current workforce is doing. So you'll get to discover across a multitude of different industries. The one that we have baked into the classroom that we've built are more tech and business focused, but you can also explore on your own and you can see some of the different roles, say in healthcare, or if you want to go on a law path and really get that chance to see, is this something you want to pursue? Do you like doing it? Or no, that's not really for me like I thought it would be. And then you can kind of focus in on something that you really want to put your energy behind. Another free learning resource that we have embedded in Careers in Tech is the Infosys Springboard Digital Academy. So this is through another relationship that we have with Infosys. We've been granted access to offer free use to users to this platform for the next 3 years. So again, this is another one. All you have to do is create a username and you will get access to this learning platform. It's a gamified learning platform. They now actually have over 11,000 different learning pathways all around that digital skill growth. So you can get a base level understanding about how AI systems work in generative AI, some of that prompt engineering. You can get an introductory course into different coding and programming languages. Similarly, on the data science side of it, you can get a foundation in SQL and R. All of these different things that show up when you look at those job descriptions and you read through it and you're like, I've never even heard of this before. Infosys Digital Academy is a great place to be able to just kind of dispel what some of those skill sets are and give you that initial foundation. This is a great tool in the fact that it is modeled off of their internal training system. So these are the learning modules that they have available to their current workforce so that they can upskill for their current jobs. So again, having these learning experiences that are tied to industry and it's based on the competencies that industry needs right now will really set you up to be a competitive candidate, regardless of kind of where you're at in your journey, really looking at these as these sort of stackable opportunities. More so if you want to continue to kind of dig into the careers in tech site, like I said, we continue to update it with the updated workforce information that we have. We have those split out into age specific guides so that they are tailored to those different audiences. And one of the most important features of this site is the breakdown of some of the top roles. Right now, we have 10 career pathways fully built out. Each of these are designed in a similar format. So when you go into one of these careers, you're going to have a brief definition of what it is that those individuals do, what the current salary analytics are for that role here in Indiana. What are those foundational skills that employers are hiring for in that role? What are the technical skills that you need at various levels? So as an entry-level employee or as an advanced employee, what does your professional development growth path look like? So what does some of those future steps look like? And then getting access to the training and education path that you need, that employers are currently hiring for. In the coming months, we are going to add the next round of 15 roles to really kind of blow this up and to encompass all 25 major roles that Indiana employers in the tech and tech-enabled space are currently hiring for and have the most demand for. So you'll really be able to dig into and get a full sense about what it is that is expected of these jobs, what's the training that's needed for it, and what are the skill sets that you need to develop so you can start to build out that learning path. So that's our careers in tech resource, really meant as a knowledge base, knowledge building, and access to some of those free learning and quiz assessments. I imagine that this maybe has already been shared, but I just want to double down that if you are looking for opportunities, especially coming up this summer, Explore is going to be the best path for you. That is really a chance for you. It's open to upper high school students and early college students as a career exploration program. So you're going to get access to industry, you'll get assigned an industry mentor and get to work through those different simulations. We use that Forge platform, so you get to try on those different careers and really start to build those competencies. I mentioned early on in our presentation that adult apprenticeship is a model that we are bringing into the marketplace and really working on employers to adopt as a talent solution. So for adult apprenticeship programs, for anybody that's 18 years or older, if this is an area that seems more appropriate to you, and adult apprenticeships really tend to focus in and be more attractive to individuals that need to earn a wage while they are also learning and building out their educational competency. So this could be an avenue that you want to address or kind of go down for those that are 18 years and older. And then anybody that's thinking about a post-secondary college track, want to make sure that it's just in the back of your mind. Our extern program, this is what TechPoint has been historically known for. It is our summer internship program. So we essentially serve as a third-party recruiter, recruiting qualified talent on behalf of Indiana's employer for their tech and tech-enabled role. The big features of our extern program is that it is a 10-week full-time paid internship, and we cover your housing. So all the money that you earn for your job, you don't have to worry about that going to a short-term housing situation. We also give you access to professional development programming, civic engagement, the opportunity to start building your network. So anybody who's thinking of going down that post-secondary college track, once you kind of get into that environment, keep an eye out for our extern program. We start recruiting for that in the fall semester. And then we do also host a job board. So we encourage all of our member companies across the state of Indiana to cross-post any of their tech and tech-enabled roles to our job board. It's one of our most visited sub-sites on our webpage. So just want to make sure that you all are aware of that. And that closes out my presentation.